So now let's understand about this in terms of the mesomatic tissue. So in this case, what will be happening? So in this case, the growth are particularly being restricted with reference to what? With reference to the certain specialized region. But when we are talking about the case of the cell division in terms of what? In terms of the mesomatic tissue. So the cell division process are literally being employed as well as favored with reference to what? With reference to the here in terms of the mesomatic tissue. As well as when we are talking about the case of the cell division, remember, as well as understood. So this will be what? So these are the meiosis as well as the mitosis. Very clearly knowing. As well as when we are talking about these cases in terms of the mesomatic tissue. So these are having what? So these are having the dense cytoplasm. Often when we are talking about the case, means what are actually the cytoplasm, remember? So cytoplasm are the fluid filled structure as well as the fluid-like substances present in terms of what? Present as well as being enclosed as well as being embedded with reference to what? With reference to the plasma membrane. Often these are containing what? So these are containing about 80% of the water molecules. Often when we are talking about these cases in terms of the cytoplasm, so your many of the cell organelles are literally being merged with reference to what? With reference in this content, meaning in terms of what? Meaning in terms of the cytoplasm. Often when we are talking about the case of the cytoplasm, so these are often having the very specialized mechanizing role in it, playing important role in order for what? Playing important role in order to transport the nutrients as well as what? As well as the metabolites. Remember what are actually the metabolites as well as what are actually the nutrients. So you are very clear about that, means what are actually the nutrients. Clearly knowing, meaning in terms of the micronutrition. Then we are having the macronutrition. Often these are containing what? So these are having the thin cell wall. So you are very clear about that, means what are actually the cell wall. So meaning in terms of what? Meaning in terms of the mesomatic tissue will be having what? So this will be having the here meaning in terms of the thin cell wall. As well as when we are talking about the mesomatic tissue, so these are having the deficiency of what? So your mesomatic tissue are having the deficiency of the vacuoles. Remember what are actually the vacuoles? So when we are talking about the vacuoles case, so what are actually, this is the question arise. So these are particularly being present with reference to what? With reference to the plant in terms of what? In terms of the larger ratio. But when we are talking about the case in the animal cells, so your vacuoles will be present, of course, or either it will be absent. If it will be present, then what will be happening? So it will be present in terms of the smaller content, or either in terms of what? In terms of the micro structure. As well as when we are talking about these cases, in terms of what? The role of the vacuoles. So these are particularly containing the substances. Means what? So your vacuoles are containing the, as well as when we are taking the case of the vacuoles, so your mesomatic tissue will be having what? So it will be having the deficiency of what? Of the vacuoles. So now let's understand about these, means what are actually the vacuoles. So when we are talking in the case of what? Of the plant cells. So your plant cells will be having the vacuoles in terms of what? In terms of the wider ratio as well as the larger ratio. But when we are talking about the case in terms of the animal cells, so here what will be happening? So in the case of the animal cells, the vacuoles will not be present. Or if it will be present in terms of what? So it will be present in terms of the micro amount, or either what? Or either in terms of the smaller ratio. As well as when we are talking about these cases in terms of what? In terms of the vacuoles, remember? So these are containing the many types of the substances such as what? Such as the enzymes, often what? Often the proteins as well as the nutrients, as well as the minerals. Often you will be having the bit amount of the lipase as well as what? As well as the amino acid. Very clearly knowing, means what are actually the amino acid. As well as these will be often having the proteins. Remember what are actually the protein? So protein are the macromolecules of the amino acid. As well as when we are talking about the case of the amino acid, so amino acid are what? So amino acid are the micromolecules of the protein. Often when we are talking about the case of the protein, so these are broadly divided in terms of the four broad categories. So these are what? So these are the primary structure. Then we are having the secondary structure, meaning in terms of the 2-degree structure. Then we are having the 3-degree structure, meaning in terms of what? Meaning in terms of the tertiary structure, as well as the quaternary structure, meaning in terms of what? Meaning in terms of the 4-degree structure. So your primary structure particularly playing important role to discover as well as demonstrate what? So it playing important role to demonstrate the helical structure of what? Of the DNA. So DNA are what? So DNA are the deoxyribose nucleic acids. So we'll be understanding about that later. After that you are having the secondary structure. So its role are just like similar to like that, playing important role to decide as well as what? To demonstrate the here meaning of the polypeptide chain structure. As well as when we are talking about the case of the tertiary structure, so these play important role in order for what? So these are being broadly divided in terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the fibrous protein. Then we are having the globular protein. Remember? So what are fibrous protein? These are quite a bit insoluble in terms of the water molecules. As well as the best example will be what? So it will be the keratin proteins, generally present in terms of what? generally present in terms of the hairs as well as the nails cases. As well as when we are talking about the globular protein, means what? So these are quite a bit soluble with reference to what? With reference to the water molecules. Understood? As well as very clearly knowing. The best example will be what? So it will be the lipase as well as the renin. It is. So we'll be understanding about that later. Often you are very clear about that, means what are actually the enzymes. So enzymes are the biocatalysts, playing an important role in order for what? To increase or decrease the rate of reaction without being altered cases. As well as when we are talking about the case of the vacuole, so in terms of the plant cell, it will be playing an important role. As well as these are being surrounded with reference to what? So these are being surrounded with reference to the here we talk the selectively permeable membrane, known as what? So these are known as the tonoplast. As well as when we are talking in the case of the animal cells, so there what will be happening? So these are particularly playing an important role in terms to carry out what? In terms to carrying out the here main of the ingestion of the food ingredients. So you could often understand with reference to the examples such as what? Such as the presence of the vacuoles in terms of what? In terms of the amoeba. As well as when we are talking about the amoeba, so these are what? So these are actually the animals, says, as well as the animals, of course. Now, after that, these are often playing important role in order for what? So these particularly vacuoles are playing important role in order to expel the excreted waste as well as what? As well as the waste products, literally. So the best example as well as the presence will be what? Such as in terms of the expiling waste, in terms of what? In terms of the protozoa. Often you are very clear about that, means what are actually the protozoa. But when we are talking about the structure with reference to what? With reference to the vacuoles. So these are what? So these are the fluid filled membranous sac-like structure. Remember as well as clear what are actually the fluid filled here made of the membranous sac-like structure. As well as these are often containing what? So your vacuoles are generally containing the hydrolytic enzymes. So these are often known as what? Tell me. So these are often known as the lysosomes. As well as when we are talking about what are actually the lysosomes. So lysosomes are what? So lysosomes are known as the suicidal bag. It is now. So this is somewhat the condition of the vacuoles, as well as when we are talking in the case of the meristematic stem. So this will be not having what, or either it will be having the deficiency of what? Of the vacuoles. So understood what are actually the vacuoles? And vacuoles are primarily what? So these are the cell organelles component, or either the cell ingredients component. Now, so when we are talking about these cases in terms of the permanent tissue. So permanent tissue is having what? So permanent tissue is having the lack of the cell division potential. Understood? As well as what? As well as when we are talking about these cases in terms of the permanent tissue. So these are often known as what? So these are known as the simple tissue. Why is it so? This is due to because it is resembling the similar type of what? Similar type of the structure as well as the function. In terms of what? Very simple. So these are known as what? So these are known as the simpler tissue. So you could often find it on the board here. As well as when we are talking about these cases in terms of what? In terms of the permanent tissue. So in this case, the very important mechanizing role will be taking place. So these are known as what? So these are known as the differentiation. So when we are talking about the differentiation case, so what are these? So these differentiation playing important role to convert what? So these differentiation are playing important role to convert these minute of the meristematic tissue. In terms of what? To convert these meristematic tissue in the nature of what? To transport as well as terminate these in terms of what? Minute of the meristematic tissue as well as convert these in terms of what? In terms of the nature of the permanent. Thus, by this mechanism only, what will be happening? Thus, by the mechanism of the differentiation, what is happening? So your meristematic tissue are literally being transformed in terms of what? In the nature of the permanent. And thus, these are known as what? So due to this reason only, these are known as the permanent tissue. So you are very clearly knowing, as well as you could often find it on the board here. So this is somewhat the condition when we are So this is somewhat the condition when we are talking about the case of the anatomy of the flowering plants, in which we have dealt about what? So in which we have dealt about the tissue. Often what? Often the plant tissue. Often we have broadly understood about these, means what are actually the meristematic tissue. Then what? Then the permanent tissue. As well as we have often understood about what are actually the primary meristem. Then what? Then the secondary meristem. So these are often being divided in terms of what? In terms of the apical meristem, then the intercalary meristem, as well as these in terms of what? In terms of the here, in terms of the secondary meristem are often known as what? So these are known as the lateral meristem, often being further divided in terms of the two broad categories. So these are what? So these are the cord cambium as well as what? As well as the lateral cambium. As well as we have often understood about the bit introduction, means what are actually the permanent tissue. As well as finally we have got what? The bit introduction about what? About these, means what are actually the meristematic tissue, in which we have dealt as well as understood the certain more impacts as well as the very important phenomena in it. As well as we have often understood what are actually the xylem, as well as the phloem, as well as the bit introduction, means what are actually the vacuoles. So I thought you have got the concept, means what are actually these. So if you like the work with reference to the education, as well as the lectures, as well as what? As well as with reference to the videos. So you could often subscribe, then what? Then like, then what? Then share my lectures with reference to what? With reference to the Rahul Anand tutorial. So write these. So very, very thank you. Please like, subscribe, as well as share my lectures. Very, very thank you.